The splash in the night. It was a quiet night in the small town of Elmswood. Most houses were dark, only a few porch lights were still on. The streets were empty. The stars above were clear and bright. It was the kind of night when nothing exciting ever happened. Jake Carter, a 22-year-old college dropout, stood at his bedroom window, brushing his teeth. His parents were away for the weekend, and he was home alone. He yawned, bored, looking out at the backyard. The pool water was still. The moonlight reflected off its surface like glass. Then he heard a sound. Hum. It was soft at first, like a mosquito. But it grew louder, turning into a low buzzing noise like a strange machine. Jake froze. It wasn't coming from inside the house. It was coming from above. He looked up. A small glowing object was moving through the sky. It zigzagged, flickering red and blue. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a plane either. It was moving too fast. Suddenly, it tilted sideways and shot downward. Splash. The glowing object crashed straight into the pool. Jake dropped his toothbrush. What the hell? He ran down the stairs, grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, and rushed outside. The night air was cold. His bare feet slapped against the wet grass as he reached the edge of the pool. The water was rippling. A soft blue light glowed under the surface. Jake leaned closer, aiming his flashlight. That's when he saw her. Something small, maybe 10 inches tall, was sinking slowly in the water. It had a tiny body, arms, legs, and glowing purple hair that floated around like silk. Its skin shimmered silver blue. It didn't look human. It was drowning. Without thinking, Jake jumped in. The water was freezing, but he didn't care. He swam down and grabbed the small figure. She was lighter than a feather. He kicked upward and burst out of the water, coughing and shivering. He climbed out of the pool, cradling the tiny creature in his hands. She wasn't breathing. No. Come on. He pressed gently on her tiny chest. A few seconds later, she coughed, and water splashed from her mouth. Then she opened her eyes. Big, purple eyes. She blinked and looked around. When her eyes landed on Jake, she gasped. Her tiny hands reached for something at her belt, but it was broken. Jake stared at her, shocked. You single quotes read ... not a bug, right? She tilted her head, confused. I'm Jake, he said slowly, unsure if she could understand him. She looked around again. Her voice was soft, high-pitched, but clear. Where ... Where am I? Jake blinked. You can talk? I'm not supposed to be here, she said. Her voice shook. It was an accident. They ... They found me. Who's they? She sat up, her hands shaking. Hunters from my planet. They don't want peace. They want war, I escaped. But they followed. Jake stared at her, mouth open. Are you an alien? Yes. There was a long pause. The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere far away, a dog barked. The tiny alien looked up at the stars. I came to find someone, but I fell too fast. My pod broke. Jake helped her to her feet. She stood in his palm like a toy. Her skin sparkled under the moonlight. You need help, Jake said. She looked up at him. Why ... Why did you save me? Jake thought for a moment. Because no one deserves to drown. Not even tiny aliens, she smiled, just a little. Then, her eyes widened. She grabbed a small device from her belt. It was cracked and blinking red. No, she whispered. What is it? They're coming. Who's coming? The ones I ran from. The device made a loud beep. The red light turned solid. Jake looked around the yard, suddenly aware of how dark and quiet it was. Then the flashlight flickered, and the pool light went out. The air turned cold. And from the trees behind the fence, something moved, the alien. Girl looked up at Jake. You need to hide me. Alien in the attic. Jake slammed the back door shut behind him, his heart beating like a drum in his ears. His wet clothes left a trail of water on the kitchen tiles. He ran upstairs, carrying the tiny alien girl wrapped in a towel. Zell clung to his thumb like a scared kitten. "We don't have much time," she whispered. Jake burst into the attic. It was dusty and full of old boxes, spider webs, and forgotten junk. The only light came from a single flickering bulb that buzzed like an angry fly. "Sorry about the mess," Jake said, pushing boxes aside. "My parents used this place to store junk and failed hobbies." Zell looked around nervously. "Anywhere we can hide?" Jake grabbed a shoebox, dumped out old baseball cards, and gently placed her inside. "Not the fanciest spaceship, but it's private." She didn't laugh. Outside, a strange whirring sound passed over the rooftop. Zell's ears twitched. "They have cloaked scouts, small drones. Insect-shaped." Jake peeked through the attic. Vent. The backyard was dark again, silent, too silent. "What do they want from you?" Zell looked up, her tiny face pale. "It's not what I have, it's what I know," Jake frowned. "Care to explain, little Miss Galactic Secret?" Zell sat down, wrapping the towel around herself like a cloak. "My planet Nuvora is under control of the Overseers. They are powerful, cold, and afraid of only one thing." "Which is?" "Hope." Jake blinked. "Okay, now I'm curious and confused." Zell took a small piece of metal from her belt. It looked like a chip from a broken phone. "This holds the coordinates to a vault. Inside it is a key. A weapon, or maybe a cure. My people believe it can free our world. I don't know what it truly is, but the Overseers want it destroyed." "And you have the only copy?" She nodded. "They chased me across 4 systems. My escape pod lost control. I landed here by accident." Jake sat back on an old suitcase, running a hand through his wet hair. "You crash-landed in a suburban backyard with galactic secrets in your pocket. Wow." Zell gave a small smile. "And then a human jumped into a pool to save me. That wasn't part of the plan either," Jake chuckled. "Yeah, well, I don't usually go alien rescuing on weeknights." Suddenly, the attic light flickered. Then it died. Complete darkness. Zell's device lit up with a faint purple glow. "Jake," she whispered, "something's inside the house." Jake held his breath. Below them, a floorboard creaked. 1, then 2. Slow, careful steps. He crawled to the attic trapdoor and placed his ear against it. Rawr! Click. The living room window. Someone or something had just opened it from the outside. Jake motioned for Zell to be quiet. She crouched lower in the shoebox, eyes wide. A sharp tapping sound echoed up from below, like metal fingers against tile. Then silence. Jake waited. 10 seconds. 20. Thump. Something hit the attic door from beneath. Jake nearly jumped out of his skin. Another thump. Then nothing. Just when he thought the danger was gone, a voice, mechanical and cold, came through the floorboards. "Subject 473Z. Return the vault data. This planet is not your sanctuary." Zell clutched the metal chip close to her chest. "It's them," she whispered. "The hunters." Jake looked around wildly. He needed a weapon. A screwdriver? A hockey stick? A baseball bat with nails? Before he could grab anything, the voice spoke again. "Your human ally is expendable." Jake's anger flared. "Hey, who are you calling expendable, you tin-can freak?" "Bad move." The attic door rattled hard, then cracked down the middle. Zell stood up in the shoebox. Her eyes glowed faintly. "I can slow them down, but I'll need power." Jake grabbed the flashlight. "Power? You mean like electricity?" She pointed at the bulb socket. "That'll do." Jake unscrewed the light bulb and held the socket close. "Do it fast." Zell touched 2 wires together with her tiny fingers. Sparks danced. Her skin glowed. The chip blinked brighter. She turned to Jake. "We have 60 seconds. Hide." "No way," Jake said. If you're fighting, I'm staying. She looked touched and terrified. Suddenly, boom. The attic trapdoor exploded open. Wood splinters flew across the room. A black spider-like machine crawled in. Its body shimmered like oil, and its red eyes scanned the attic. It saw Jake. Then, Zell, target locked. Before it could jump, Zell raised the chip high. It pulsed once, sending out a sharp ping. The machine paused, then shook violently. Its legs spasmed. Sparks flew from its joints. Jake didn't wait. He grabbed a paint can and smashed it into the drone's face. Crack! The machine fell backward and tumbled down the attic stairs. Zell collapsed. The chip dimmed. Jake caught her just in time. You okay? She nodded weakly. But they'll send more. We need a new plan, Jake said. She looked up at him. We need to run, but not far. My escape beacon, it's nearby. Jake raised an eyebrow. And you're telling me this now? Zell looked sheepish. I didn't want to trust you too soon. Jake smirked. Well, I did save you from drowning and a killer robot. You owe me a milkshake at least. She tilted her head. What's a milkshake? He laughed. Oh, you're gonna love Earth. But outside, another shadow passed over the rooftop. Zell's eyes narrowed. They're bringing something bigger. Jake peeked through the vent. Far across the sky. A new light appeared. It wasn't blinking. It wasn't flying. It was hovering. Ship. The backyard chase. Jake slammed the attic hatch shut behind him, nearly losing his grip on the ladder. With one arm cradling Zell and the other trying not to fall, he half slid, half jumped down the stairs. The house felt colder now. Not air conditioner cold. Wrong cold. Outside, the hum of something massive grew louder. The glowing ship in the sky was slowly descending. Like a predator ready to strike. We can't stay here, Jake said, running to his room. Where's your beacon thing? Zell's voice was faint. It fell when I crashed. I saw trees. Water. A small park. Jake's eyes widened. You mean Miller Park? That's 2 blocks from here. Zell blinked, weak but alert. We have to get there before they block it. Suddenly, a crash echoed from downstairs. A second drone had entered the house, this one taller, faster and armed. Surrender the vault code. The robot barked in a voice like metal grinding stone. Jake didn't answer. Instead, he ran. He darted out his bedroom window, landing hard in the bushes below. Scratches, bruises, dignity, he didn't care. He held Zell close, rolled to his feet, and sprinted into the backyard. Behind him, the drone smashed through the wall. Literally, drywall and wires flew like confetti at a robot birthday party. The thing leapt after him, red lights glowing. Jake jumped the fence. He didn't make it cleanly. His hoodie got caught, yanking him backward. He ripped it off, left it hanging on the wood, and kept running. Zell shouted, "Left, the alley." He followed, legs burning. Above them, the ship slowly turned, following their path. Meanwhile, 30,000 feet above Earth, inside the alien ship, 2 beings watched the chase unfold. One was tall and armored in black-blue metal. The other wore no armor, only a long coat and a sneer. The girl has activated the chip, said the sneering one. It won't be long. The armored figure remained silent, staring at Jake on the monitor. Strange, it said after a pause. The human is shielding her, protecting her. Primitive loyalty, said the sneerer, easily broken. Perhaps, said the armored one, or perhaps dangerous. Back on Earth. Jake, single quotes, S shoes hit the wet sidewalk of Miller Park. The place was empty, except for a few flickering streetlights and a broken swing creaking in the wind. Zell looked around wildly. There it's under that tree. A large oak tree stood in the center of the park. At its base, something glowed faintly under the grass. Jake dropped beside it and started digging with his hands. Mud flew. Zell reached into the hole and pulled. Out a small, circular device. It blinked once, then twice. Then. Beacon activated. Rescue signal launched. Zell breathed in deeply, as if some huge weight had lifted off her chest. Jake smiled. That's it, right? They'll come get you now. Zell's face fell. No, now they really know where we are. Of course they do, Jake thought. Nothing's ever easy with aliens. Suddenly, a spotlight from the ship lit up the park like a stadium. Zell dove into Jake's jacket pocket. Run, Jake. He ran. The ship's light tracked him, targeting systems whirring overhead. Behind him, 2 more drones dropped from the ship like angry wasps. One fired a pulse that vaporized a park bench. The second chased at ground level, fast and deadly. Jake ran through the playground, jumped over a seesaw, ducked behind a sandbox. A drone blasted the monkey bar's metal, flew everywhere. He spotted a maintenance shed, kicked the door open, ran inside. Held his breath. The drones circled the area. One paused outside the shed, scanning. Inside, Jake whispered, "They don't know where you are." Zell shook her head. "No, I blocked the signal with your body heat." Jake blinked. "Well, glad I'm sweaty and warm, I guess." Then he heard it, a new noise. Wings. But not mechanical. Organic. Something landed on top of the shed with a thud. A new figure stepped down. Not a drone. A humanoid creature. 7 feet tall, skin like dark metal, eyes glowing silver. Its face was smooth, masked. Like. It carried no weapon. It didn't need one. Zell gasped. "That's not a hunter drone. That's a warden." Jake grabbed a rake. "Okay, and what does that mean?" "It means," Zell said, voice shaking, "we're probably going to die." The warden speaks. The warden looks straight at the shed door. "Human, you have interfered. Twice." Jake gripped the rake tighter. "Yeah, well, 3rd time's the charm. You are not brave. You are not clever. You are disposable." Zell shouted from Jake's pocket. "His name is Jake. And he saved me. That makes him a hero." The warden tilted its head, almost curious. "We do not understand your kind, but we will dissect it." Jake didn't wait. He kicked the shed door open and charged, rake raised. Heart pounding. The warden moved like smoke-fast fluid. Terrifying. Jake swung the rake. Missed. The warden grabbed him by the neck. Zell screamed. Then a boom shook the air. A bolt of blue energy hit the warden square in the back. It dropped Jake and turned, surprised. From the woods, another figure stepped out. It wore armor sleek, silver, glowing with lines of purple. Zell shouted with joy. "RYN," Jake coughed. "Friend of yours?" Zell nodded, tears in her eyes. "My last protector." Rin raised his blaster again. "Back off, warden. She's not yours." The warden stood tall. "Then she is yours to die with." They charged each other. Jake pulled Zell from his pocket and ran, again. This time toward the sound of engines. Friendly engines. A small shuttle was landing at the far end of the park. Zell tapped her chip. "It's now or never." Jake jumped into the shuttle just as Rin leapt in behind him, smoke rising from his armor. The warden stood at the edge of the park, watching them leave. Not defeated, just waiting. Back inside the shuttle. Jake slumped in a chair, panting. Zell sat in his lap, holding the chip like it was her heart. Rin looked at them both. That was messy. Jake looked out the window, down at Earth. Then at Zell. "What now?" he asked. Zell's eyes were sad. "Now. We run, and pray we find the vault before they find us again." The signal in the sky. The shuttle flew silently above Earth, cloaked from satellites and sensors. Inside, the lights were dim, the air thick with tension. Jake sat near a small window, staring out at the stars. Earth looked peaceful from up here, blue, round, quiet. You'd never guess it just hosted a robot assassination attempt. Zell sat nearby, her tiny frame wrapped in a small thermal blanket. Her eyes were fixed on the chip in her hand. It flickered like it was thinking. Rin stood at the front of the ship, scanning the controls. "We can't stay in orbit for long," he said. "They'll track the beacon signature." Jake turned. "I thought you said this thing was hidden." "It is," Rin replied. "But nothing is hidden forever. Not from them." Zell looked up. Her voice was calm, but serious. "Then we make our move now." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Move? You mean, like actually do something with that chip?" Zell nodded. "The vault is still locked. This chip holds the map to it. But the map needs a signal to unlock an ancient frequency only my people can activate." Jake leaned forward. "And where do we find that?" Zell pointed out the window. "There." Jake looked. In the distance, far across the curve of the earth, floated a quiet, forgotten object. A satellite. Old, rusted, half dead. "That thing?" Jake said. "That looks like it's one microwave away from falling out of the sky." "It's not just any satellite," Rin said. "It's Echo 7. It was built in secret by humans, with alien help, 100 years ago." Jake blinked. "You mean we've had aliens helping us for a century?" Zell nodded. "Not all humans are in the dark. Some have always known. They built Echo 7 as a peace offering. Before everything went wrong." Jake shook his head. "What do we do with it?" Rin answered. "We dock, you go in, you activate the frequency." "That's it." Jake laughed nervously. "Oh sure, yeah, that's it. Just float through space into an abandoned alien satellite, push some glowy buttons, and not die." "Totally normal Tuesday." Zell smiled. "You're the only one who can do it." Jake pointed to himself. "Because I'm brave?" Zell shook her head. "Because the satellite won't respond to alien life signs. It was designed to only listen to humans." Jake muttered under his breath. "Figures." 20 minutes later, near Echo 7, the shuttle floated next to the ancient satellite, which looked like a space junkyard project. Panels were missing. Cables dangled like vines. It gave off a low hum, like a sleeping beast. Jake stood at the airlock, wearing a borrowed spacesuit. "I feel like a balloon stuffed in tin foil," he muttered. Zell floated beside him in a tiny magnetic bubble. "You'll do fine. Just don't touch anything that hisses." "Oh cool, space snakes, got it." The airlock hissed open. Jake stepped into the void. Inside Echo 7, it was dark, cold, silent. Jake moved carefully through the old corridors, lit only by his helmet light. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, some human, some definitely not. Zell guided him through a speaker. "Take the left tunnel. You should see a control room with a sphere in the center." Jake found it. The room looked like a cross between a NASA lab and a haunted church. In the center floated a glass orb, suspended by invisible force. "The signal core," Zell said softly. "Place the chip on the pedestal." Jake stepped forward. He placed the chip. Nothing happened. Then the orb blinked once. Then again. A deep tone filled the room, like a choir made of machines and wails. Jake stumbled back. The orb glowed brighter. Symbols danced across the walls. The air buzzed. Zell shouted in his earpiece, "It's working! Jake, it's waking up!" Jake smiled until the satellite shook violently. Back on the shuttle, Rin swore, "Something's happening. They've triggered the Overseer's attention." Zell looked up. "What, already?" Rin pointed at a flashing light. "They've triangulated the signal. One of their destroyers is on its way." Zell gasped. "How much time?" Rin's voice was grim. 10 minutes, maybe less. Asterisk inside the satellite. Jake struggled to stay on his feet as the orb hovered higher. Then it spoke not in words, but in thoughts. He saw images in his mind. A planet, green and glowing. A vault buried under oceans of light. His hand opening it. Jake staggered. "Zell, I saw it. I know where the vault is." Zell's voice cracked in joy. Where? Asterisk. Not here, he said, breathless. Not on Earth. It's on your world. Zell's heart stopped. You saw it? Jake nodded. Yeah. And I think I'm supposed to open it, but just then, an alarm screamed. Outside the satellite, a rift opened in space. The Overseer destroyer emerged black, sleek, glowing with hatred. Rin shouted, Jake, get out now. Inside, the orb began to melt, like a candle in reverse. Sparks flew. The chip fell from the pedestal, red hot. Jake grabbed it and ran. The satellite began to implode. Back on the shuttle. Final seconds. Rin piloted the ship toward the satellite. Jake, jump! He yelled into the radio. Jake reached the airlock just as a blast of fire chased him. He leapt, and Rin caught him with the shuttle's arms. The satellite exploded behind them, lighting the sky with a wave of blue light. Safe. For now. Jake collapsed in the shuttle, panting. Zell rushed to his side. You did it, she whispered. You unlocked the vault map. Jake nodded. Yeah, I also may have exploded a 100-year-old satellite, Rin chuckled. We'll call it accidental diplomacy. Zell's eyes burned with purpose. We have to go back, to my world. The vault is waiting. Jake looked at her. Then I guess I'm going to space. Captured. The shuttle hovered above Earth, hidden behind the curve of the moon. Jake stood at the viewing deck, gazing down at his home planet. Strange, he said quietly. How small it looks, like a toy you can hold in your hand. Zell sat on the edge of a console, staring at the vault chip. Your people have always looked up at the stars, but most don't know what's watching back. Rin walked in, serious as always. Fuel's low. We'll need to land soon, somewhere quiet. Jake turned. No cities, no internet, no tourists. With telescopes. I know a place, Rin said. An old rebel contact in the Nevada desert, off-grid, no questions asked. Zell nodded. Let's move. The Overseers won't rest. And now we have something they're terrified of. Scene. Change. Landing in the Nevada desert, they landed in the middle of a sunburnt, abandoned airstrip surrounded by rusted metal sheds and rocky hills. The ground cracked under their boots. It was quiet. Too quiet. Jake looked around. This feels like every horror movie ever. Rin scanned the area. No life signs. Good. They entered the nearest bunker. Inside, it was dusty, filled with old tech and crates labeled in alien writing. Zell tapped into a console and began uploading the chip data to a secure drive. Once this finishes, we'll have a map to the vault. We just need a ship powerful enough to get to Nuvora. Jake smiled. So we steal one? Or borrow it permanently, Rin said with a smirk. But suddenly, the console blinked red. Incoming transmission, human signal code black. Zell's eyes widened. It's not from space. It's from Earth, from inside the bunker. Jake barely had time to react before bam, metal doors slammed shut. Lights turned red. Rin grabbed his weapon, but gas filled the room through vents in the ceiling. Jake coughed. Zell fell off the console. Rin fired once before collapsing. The last thing Jake saw was a group of armored humans in black suits and masks entering the room. And one of them looked very familiar. Scene change. The holding cell. Jake woke up tied to a metal chair. His head throbbed. The room was cold, white, and buzzing with artificial light. Zell was gone. So was Rin. He wasn't alone. A woman stood across from him, dressed in a sleek military suit with silver stripes and Earth emblems. Good morning, Jake, she said calmly. Sorry for the rough welcome. Jake squinted. Who the hell are you? She smiled faintly. I'm Colonel Evelyn Stroud. Welcome to Facility Echo, he groaned. You're one of those humans in the know, aren't you? She nodded. You were never supposed to find her, or that chip. But since you've bonded, we had to bring you in. Jake pulled against the straps. Where is she? The colonel walked closer. Safe, for now. But she's not what she seems. Jake's face stood in anger. She's not a threat. She's the key to an alien weapon buried on a hostile planet. That makes her a threat. Jake's voice cracked. She's trying to save her people. Stroud paused. And what happens if Earth becomes the next battleground, Jake? What happens when the overseers come looking for their stolen vault? Jake stared at her. You already made a Vendy. Deal with them, didn't you? Stroud said nothing. That was answer enough. Meanwhile, Zell's Zell sat inside a clear energy cage. Her arms were bound with glowing cuffs. The room was lined with cameras. Across from her stood someone she hadn't seen in years. A man from her planet. Tall, proud, wearing overseer armor. She whispered, Taver. Taver stepped forward. You shouldn't have run, Zell. I saw the truth. And truth, he said coldly, makes traitors of us all. Zell stood. I found the vault. Taver blinked. Then it's too late. He raised a small black cube. I have orders. You will not leave this planet. Back with Jake. And a betrayal. Jake was led down a hallway, flanked by 2 soldiers. His arms were still bound. They passed a long glass window looking into a weapons lab. Inside, Earth scientists were analyzing Zell's chip. Reverse engineering it. Jake stopped. You're going to steal her tech. Stroud's voice came through an intercom. We're going to protect our planet, Jake exploded. By handing her over? By selling out? A new voice spoke behind him. I warned you, Jake. He turned to Ryn. Unarmed. Wearing a black badge. Jake's heart dropped. No. Ryn didn't look proud, just tired. They made me a deal. Safe return to Nuvora. A clean record. I took it. Jake shouted. She trusted you. I protected her, Ryn said. But this fight? It's already lost. Jake stared at him. Then you never believed in her at all. Ryn walked away. The escape attempt that night, as storms crackled above the desert. An alarm echoed through the base. Warning, cell breach subject escaped. Zell. She had overloaded her cuffs using the spark from her energy core. She moved. Fast, silent like lightning in a bottle. She found Jake in a hallway and vaporized his restraints. He stared at her, speechless. How? I heard your voice, she said softly. And I ran toward it. Jake smiled. You've got good instincts. Together, they ran. Sirens blared. Doors locked. Ryn stood in their path, gun in hand. Don't, Jake said. I have to, Ryn replied. They'll kill me. Zell stepped forward. Then come with us. Ryn hesitated. Then he lowered the gun. And nodded. The final revelation in the hangar. The trio reached a stealth shuttle. As they prepped it for launch, Zell pulled Jake aside. I didn't tell you the whole truth, she said. Jake frowned. What now? Zell looked afraid. The vault isn't just a weapon. It's alive. Jake froze. Alive how? Zell's voice dropped. It was built by the first ones, an ancient race that could bend time and matter. The overseers are scared of it. Because it remembers them, Jake whispered. And what does it want? Zell looked up. You. The rebellion's return deep. Space. En route to Nuvareth rebel shuttle soared through a hidden wormhole corridor, the stars outstretching like ribbons. Jake sat in silence, staring at the floor. His brain felt like scrambled eggs cooked in a microwave of destiny. A live vault? First ones? Chosen human? None of it made sense. Across from him, Zell adjusted the settings on her holo display. Coordinates flickered. The vault's location grew clearer. Ryn piloted quietly, saying little since the escape. Guilt sat on his shoulders like armor he couldn't take off. Jake finally broke the silence. So, why me? Zell didn't look up. Because the vault chose you. That's not an answer. That's space fortune cookie talk. She looked at him now, serious. The vault has a living AI. It's ancient, millions of years old. When I got near it, it rejected me. But when you touch the chip, it opened. Jake laughed bitterly. I'm a dropout from Elmswood. I failed. Math 3 years in a row. I eat cold pizza for breakfast. I am not special. But you are, she said softly. You're human. And the vault only listens to your kind. Jake blinked. Wait, what? Zell nodded. The first ones created the vault, before the overseers, before the rebellion. And the first ones were not like us. They were like you, or close to it. Jake sat back, stunned. So you're saying Earth isn't just some random rock, it's a lost origin point, Zell said. And you, Jake Carter, might be the key to waking up a force the overseers buried long ago. Asterisk arrival on Nuvorathi dropped out of hyperspace just above Zell's homeworld. NUVO. It looked beautiful from space. Green oceans. Pale purple. Clouds. 3 moons orbiting it like bodyguards. But as they got closer, Jake saw the truth. Cities burned. Giant towers loomed like metal thorns across the landscape. Overseer ships patrolled the sky. The planet was occupied. Rin pulled the shuttle low, skimming the ocean surface. The resistance base is underwater, hidden under an old mining trench. Jake squinted. Let me guess. Full of creepy robots? No, Rin said. Just angry rebels with trust issues. Ah, way better. Asterisk the depths of Nuvorathi shuttle docked inside a massive chamber carved into rock. Armed guards stood at every exit. They weren't happy to see a human die as Jake stepped off the ramp. A Nuvoran general shouted, You brought him? A flesh-born outsider? Zell stepped forward. He's the one who opened the map. The vault accepted him. Gasps, one old rebel. Muttered. Then the prophecy. It was real, Jake blinked. Wait, what prophecy? No one told me there was a prophecy. I'm allergic to prophecies. Zell pulled him aside, fast. Don't speak unless spoken to, and don't mention the pizza thing. Asterisk, the council's warning. The rebel council met inside a hollowed-out dome filled with glowing roots and memory. Crystals. A huge tree grew from the center, its leaves giving off soft light. An elder named Veleth stepped forward. You are the chosen spark, he said, staring into Jake's soul. The vault has waited for a mind unshaped by war, unbroken by blood. Jake swallowed. Cool, super chill. What's it actually want? Veleth's eyes narrowed. To judge. Jake looked at Zell. Judge what? Zell's voice dropped. Whether this universe deserves another chance or a restart. Marched to the vault armed with a map from the chip, Jake, Zell, and a small team trekked across the scarred lands of Nuvora. They traveled by cloaked crawler, avoiding overseer patrols and drone swarms. Jake saw cities turn to dust. Statues of rebel heroes melted by plasma fire. Fields poisoned by orbital strikes. He turned to Zell. How did this happen? She looked away. We wanted freedom. They wanted control. So they took everything. Jake clenched his fists. Then let's take something back. They reached the vault site, a canyon covered by glowing mist. Beneath it, a staircase carved into stone spiraled downward. Zell looked at Jake. Are you ready? He shrugged. Nope, but let's do it anyway. Asterisk inside the vault. The vault was alive. Vines moved without wind. Walls pulsed like veins. Symbols rearranged themselves as Jake passed. A huge chamber opened before them. In the center, a throne-like platform hovered above a bottomless pit. On it, a sphere of pure light. Jake stepped forward. A voice echoed inside his head. You are not one of them, yet you are familiar. Jake swallowed. I'm Jake, from Earth. I don't want to fight. I just want to help her. The vault whispered again. Then prove it. Suddenly, light exploded from the platform. Asterisk the test Jake found himself standing in a vision. a perfect Earth suburb. His old house, his old school. Familiar faces walked past and Zell stood beside him. "What is this?" "A memory," Jake said, "but it feels wrong." Suddenly, the people in the vision turned, all with silver overseer eyes. The vault's voice returned. "What would you sacrifice to stop this future?" "The earth burned," Zell screamed. His parents vanished into smoke. Jake stepped forward, shouting, "Take me instead." The fire stopped. The vision faded. The vault went silent. Then it spoke again. "He is ready." Revelation and alarm back in the chamber. The light around the platform dimmed. The vault changed, grew brighter, cleaner. It opened like a flower blooming in time-lapse. Inside, a glowing object. Half machine, half organic. A seed. Zell gasped. "That's not a weapon. It's a restart, a Genesis core." Rin whispered, stunned. "The power to terraform, to rebuild worlds." Jake reached for it, but just then, boom, the walls shook. Sirens screamed. Zell shouted, "Overseers incoming." Outside the vault, dozens of black-armored troops descended from ships. Taver stood at the front, face cold. "Kill the human. Bring me the core." Home is not so far. The vault under siege. The ground trembled beneath their feet as overseer. Dropships roared overhead. Zell turned to Jake, voice urgent. "We have to go, now." Jake held the glowing Genesis core in his hands. It pulsed like a heart, warm, alive, ancient. Rin checked his blaster. "Our only shot is to get back to the crawler and reach the rebel fleet." Jake nodded, heart pounding. "Let's move." But outside the vault chamber, shadows closed in. Taver stepped into the mist, flanked by armored hunters. His voice echoed across the canyon. "You cannot escape. Give us the core, and you will be shown mercy." Zell stepped forward. "You've forgotten what mercy is." Jake whispered to Rin. "Got a back exit?" Rin smirked. "Always." They slipped into a side tunnel, ducking laser fire and falling debris. Explosions lit the cave behind them as Taver's troops stormed in. Desert of shards. Escape and betrayal. Team emerged from the cliffs into a desert scattered with sharp crystal formations, the Desert of Shards. The crawler was hidden, nearby cloaked, but they weren't alone. A rebel scout ran to meet them, bleeding, panicked. "They've surrounded the base." "We lost contact with command." Jake looked at Zell. "We can't take the core back there. We'll lead them straight to your people." Zell nodded. "Then we go alone." Rin frowned. "That's suicide." Jake turned. "Or, it's bait." The choice. Zell powered up a distress beacon, but not to call for help. To send a fake signal. A decoy. She looked at Jake. "This will buy the rebels time. You and I will draw them away." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You're serious?" "Just you and me?" Zell smiled sadly. "Just like the first night." Jake looked down at the core. "I never asked for this." "I know," she said. "But somehow you're the only one who earned it." Final stand. The crater. They made their final stand in an old crater, surrounded by shattered shipwrecks from an ancient battle. The core sat in the center, glowing like a beacon. Overseer ships circled above. Taver landed first, stepping out alone. His helmet hissed open, revealing a face tired with war. "You," he said to Jake. "You're the reason everything is unraveling." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Me?" "Dude, I was eating cereal when this started." Taver drew his weapon. "Give me the core, and I'll end this quickly." Jake stood tall. "You want it? Come get it." Battle erupted. War unleashed. Drones flew. Lasers lit the sky. Zell moved like lightning, her body glowing with raw energy as she took down Overseer soldiers one by one. Jake ran through the chaos, carrying the core toward a mountain of wreckage. Taver chased him, relentless. "You think you can rebuild Nuvora?" Taver shouted. "You think you understand what the core really is?" Jake turned, ducked, rolled, and kept running. Nope, I'm just winging it. Zell, wounded but fierce, collapsed after disabling a gunship. Jake, she shouted. It's time. The core's activation Jake reached the top of the wreckage and held up the Genesis core. Taver leapt toward him. Jake didn't flinch. He pressed the core to his chest. The world froze. Everything turned white. The other place Jake stood in a void of light. The core floated in front of him. A voice spoke, not from the core, but within it. You have chosen to carry the seed. Are you willing to pay the cost? Jake looked around. What cost? To give life, you must offer yours. His breath caught. He saw flashes, Earth, Zell, the rebels. The vault, the old man's words. You are the spark. Jake closed his eyes. If it saves her world, if it stops them, yes. Rebirth, back in the real world, light exploded from the core. A shockwave knocked back the overseers, their ships failing mid-air. From the ground, green burst upward. The dead desert bloomed. Ruined cities began to heal. Sky cleared. The rebellion rose. Taver stood, blinded, horrified. No, this isn't possible. Zell crawled to Jake's side, tears in her eyes. Jake. He lay still, the core now dim beside him. One last spark. Zell held his hand. Don't do this, please. But then, the core pulsed once more. Jake coughed, blinking. Is it over? Zell laughed, crying. You stubborn, ridiculous human. He smiled weakly. Did I win? You saved us all. The aftermath. Weeks passed. Navora healed. The overseers retreated. The rebellion gained new allies, and Jake became a legend. Earth, once ignored, was now seen as the planet that birthed the spark of change. Zell stood beside him on a mountain as the 3 moons rose. You could stay here, she said. Jake looked at her, then up at the stars. Or you could come home with me. Zell smiled. What's Earth like? He grinned. Messy, loud, full of pizza and bad jokes. She took his hand. Sounds perfect. Earth. 1 year later, in a small house in Elmswood, a strange plant grew. In Jake's backyard, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Inside, Jake typed on his computer. Zell floated nearby, watching YouTube videos and laughing at cats. On the screen, Jake wrote, "This is the story of how I saved an alien. And how she saved the universe."